Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with jazz guitarist Brian Kooken. We talked to him back in May of 2020 about this new COVID-19 world, along with a host of other things. Originally from Arlington, Virginia, he shares a birthday with his guitar hero, Wes Montgomery. He's got a great story. Enjoy.
Thanks for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Oh, not a problem. Yeah, not a problem, man.
Where exactly are you located? What's going on in your world?
I live in Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay.
So that's where I'm from, like Baltimore and DC area, and I just released this CD that came out. Haven't played a gig since March the 12th.
Well, as if we needed anything else to add on top of this pandemic, it's like we're entering a whole new phase of life now, so it's bizarre.
Yeah, it is, it's like, but, I'm still, I'm grateful that I was able to release that and just, continue to write music and continue to play, man.
I figure now is a good time to talk about music. So let's kind of talk a little bit about this new album. Talk to me about, it's coming out during a pandemic. You can't perform live, but, people can probably have a little bit more time to listen to it. So talk to me a little bit about this album.
I recorded the album last August. And, like 8 original pieces, and I'm playing with Greg Hassa and Robert Shaheed. Robert Shaheed plays drums. He's also a DJ at a radio station in Baltimore, so we've been getting quite a bit of airplay on his station from Oregon State University. And with the album, I just wanted to do a trio album, kind of like a Grant Green, Jimmy Smith type thing, and wrote these original pieces, had them come in the studio, and worked on mixing it, putting it together. And I called Carrie, who has promoted it, and some of the style on the pieces are anything from like a blues piece to like some funk to like kind of like bebop type stuff. And I've been playing with Greg since about 2005 and in his group, and I'm usually playing as a sideman in his group, but I decided I'd go out and write my own material and release a CD. So the music is it's exciting. Some of the music I wrote on an airplane. It's like I was sitting next to somebody and Brazilian blues, I wrote it while I was sitting next to somebody in the middle seat on a jet going out to like Canada to a camp, and then I did that just to like, do something and concentrate instead of like, be pissed off at the person sitting next to me. That's like channeled what I was doing into writing some music. I wrote a couple songs that way, and then so now I'm just excited. It took me a while to like do this by myself, and mix it down and then put it out and do that. And I'm happy with it. I mean, I guess the whole thing with live music or recorded music is that's something I did last August, and here it is all this time later, it's just coming out. It's like, and I love that process of writing and making music and playing, and I'm very spoiled because I play with Greg and Robert, and Greg is like, he's an incredible B3 player, and does the stuff where he does the pedals with his feet. He's doing the bass line himself, and it's like he's a real organ player. And the studio that we played in had like one of the organ, like one of the first B3s, from 1953 or 55. He had that, and so we used that. And considering going in and doing a session, and this came out of it, it's like really exciting. I can't wait to do the next one. So, each piece hit it's kind of like a 24-bar blues, kind of like up-tempo piece. Just playing we play a lot of blues, just easy changes. Always Looking Up is something that's kind of like a Brazilian type of Latin type of groove, Brazilian blues. The third piece is a bossa nova, And Haas's Groove is another piece I wrote on an airplane, riding somewhere. And then it's Monday and I've got the blues, man, and that's there's a couple people who've been liking this piece, with this pandemic that's come out. They really dig that piece, man. They're feeling it, it's like feeling the blues, See, in that Funk Again is kind of like, funk piece that has like some really wild changes on the end where I'm just stretching out, doing like some solo stuff. 5 Minutes Late's like another blues, and Soul for Shahid for the drummer, and he plays that on his radio show all the time. So he's playing the piece I wrote for him on his show. So it's good to have a drummer who's in the radio business, So.
Totally.
Yeah. Robert's he's got like a jazz masterclass show in the afternoon, and he does like a soul show, and then he does like an oldie show. So he's like got all this really cool jazz that he's playing. And that I wrote that song Soul for Shahid because I got inspired by listening to all the great music that he plays, and learning, what he's playing and listening, and so it's just kind of cool to have something, be inspired and write something and then bring it out, and now it's on the radio and people are digging it, and I'm selling some CDs on Bandcamp and I got a website, and these are things I should have done 30 years ago, Joe. It's like, and
yeah.
But I've been doing this. I've been playing with Greg for a while, and I mean he plays festivals, so it's like I'm not like a newbie at this. I've been doing it for a while, and I've been playing as a sideman. So I just, like I say, I love the process of writing the music and playing the music, and then seeing where it will go from there.
Well, let me ask you this. Prior to this music shutdown, how did you figure out that we were all going into this big shutdown of no live music?
I don't know. I've just been really lucky that I had all this planned to go before all this happened, and around the same time that it all came out, it's showing me that I got my CD. I did it in February, right? And it was done. And then the press release where it came out on the air was the 22nd or the 25th, right? Where now it's being played on the radio. I talked to Carrie. I'm like, do you think it's a good idea to do that? Because everybody's so down. But it just like, I don't know. I'm just happy to be able to have music and to bring. Already, I've had people who listen to the album and have brought them a lot of joy by listening to it, whether there's live music or not. I know in Baltimore there are clubs that it's a weird town, man. There's not many places that have jazz, and if they do, they might open and then they might close, and for a year there's been a guy who has a place called the Keystone Corner, and he was somebody, Todd Barkin, who had a club, actually the Keystone Corner in San Francisco for like 40 years, so now he's in Baltimore, and so there's a club there, and that was actually the last place that we played before all this stuff like shut everything down. And I don't even have a CD release party, that's a drag, it's like I don't there are people who are doing virtual performances, and I have a possibility of doing that, and there's this whole thing of like there's got to be 10 people or distance. It's just strange, but I'm still excited about putting the music out. It's not going to stop me.
Right on, and I think that's kind of the spirit of jazz, So
yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about your beginnings and how jazz became your life.
Okay, so I've played guitar. I've been playing guitar for 45 years now, and I started. My dad is a guitar player, and when I was really young, he took me to see like some shows. He still plays guitar, but I was interested in playing guitar because he played guitar, and I had to keep up with him and play like, I remember the hardest song. The first song that I played basically was a 12-bar blues, like Honky Tonk, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that's like, and then And then he took me out to see like some really great jazz players when I was really young. Like Charlie Bird had a club in Georgetown in Washington, D.C. And when I was really young, like probably about 12 or 13, I would go see like Joe Pass and Barney Kessel and Herb Ellis. And, you know, they would actually, you know, my dad would take me to this club and they would like look at me and they'd say, he's not going to drink anything, is he? He's like, no. It's like, we'll let him in. You know, that's only 12 years old. So, I mean, I got exposed to that stuff with my father at a very young age. And then, you know, of course, when I was that age, I was like into stuff like Hendrix, you know, still into Hendrix, you know. Jimi Hendrix and other rock and roll was a big influence on me as well, you know, as the jazz. But then I went to Towson State, which is in Baltimore, and there's a director there, Hank Levy, who, you know, I played in his group, played in the big band, and I was one of the first people to graduate with a commercial degree in jazz commercial performance. You know, now they're like a dime a dozen everywhere, you know. This is like 1988. So from there, you know, I just have been living in Baltimore and actually teaching lessons. That's what I do. And then, you know, playing in Greg's group and some other groups. And it's tough, man. There are not a lot of people who are, you know, making a living playing the jazz, you know. I mean, I've got some other things that I play where I play in weddings, you know, with my wife, and she plays flute, and we play like ceremonies and stuff. But man, I really love the jazz, you know. I mean, there's something about it that I wish I could just do that full time.
Right on. Yeah.
And but you know, my history is like from my father, you know, taking me in to see all that stuff when I was a little kid. And then you know, of course, then going into college, then I started to, you know, get absorbed with it at college age. And then, you know, I'm just been, for all this time, been, you know, playing around town with different groups, and then, you know, playing with Greg Hasse, who's in my group, playing with his group, and he does, like, festivals a lot. And he, you know, so it's been kind of cool to like, play with him, man, because he's, like, a world-class, like, B3 player, you know. And he was doing a thing when a long time ago. He's like actually, you know, grew up like listening to like Jimmy Smith, and he was friends with Jimmy Smith, you know. So it's like, it's kind of cool, you know. So I'm kind of like from the lineage of playing in a group with that kind of thing, with you know, because not a lot of guitar players and keyboard players get along, but Greg has been really great, man. I just play, and there's been times when we play together, it's like you can't tell that, you know, it sounds like it's written out, but we're just like listening to each other. So it's like I'm very lucky that I have somebody of that caliber to play with and to grow, you know. I consider myself the worst one in the group, you know, but I'm, you know, that's kind of, you know, it's all cool, man. And usually, like, when I play, like, an album that I put out before, I put out with an alto player, and he was killing. And I just decided to do a trio, you know, because I know a plethora of sax players who will, you know, kick my ass. Excuse my French, you know. But, you know, I just wanted to do a trio album, you know. And I usually, when we play in a group, there's like a sax player, sax and trumpet, you know, with us. But I just decided to do like a trio, you know. I have it my group, BK Trio.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool, man. Let me ask you this. When we do get back to live music and everybody returns, both audience and musician, what do you hope we realize about live music when we return? What revelations or things do you hope we realize?
What I hope to realize with that when we get back to live music is that, you know, people will really want to come out and do it. I mean, it's a very scary time. I mean, they're talking about like 25% of restaurants are going to just close, you know, so it's just like this fear thing. But I don't think you're ever going to totally shut down the music, you know. So I hope to be able to like play with this group somewhere, you know, and you know, go out and take this and have like a release party. I've talked to a couple places, but it's like at this point, it's just like at this shutdown. I just hope to be able to do that in, like a month or two, or try to be able to set it up and to get back out and play. It's really funny, Joe. I was in Cuba in February, and I was sitting in with this group, man, and I had the greatest time. It was almost like when I was playing with them, this group that I sat in with, I knew all the material, and when I played with them, I felt like I've been playing with them forever, because that's what jazz is, man. It's a universal language, and then we come back, and then all this is right before all this hit, and I was like, damn, man, down there's like music in every club or every restaurant, and there's people playing music on the streets, it's just like, and then here it's, I don't know how many clubs there are in Kansas City for jazz, but I know, in Baltimore, there's a couple places that have some music, and then things shift up, and then, DC too has a couple places that has jazz, but it's, I would just like to be able to play what I write, and play somewhere in a venue with it.
I dig it, man. That was a great way. Great answer, great way I think to wrap everything up. Thanks for calling up and reaching out and opening up about this new album and this weird world we're living in now. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I mean, I still have hope, man.
Thanks for listening and tuning into another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest cats in Virginia, New York, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. Thanks to Brian for his time, music, and stories. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.